When did you find Travis's gun?
It would have been October, November, sometime in the fall. It was before Christmas, 2007. I know it was before Christmas. I don't remember the exact time in the fall.
Was it kept loaded in the closet?
He told me it was not loaded.
Objection, hearsay.
He assured me it wasn't loaded because
Objection now with the hearsay.
Oh, I'm
Sustained.
sorry.
Sustained. After you snatched the gun off the shelf, did you do anything to the gun, such as cock it, slip off the safety, manipulate a slide, or anything prior to it going off?
I don't even think I would know how to do that, so the answer is I don't know. Probably not. I just grabbed it and pointed it, is what I remember.
Did Travis ever tell you he kept his gun loaded?
He told me of one time that he considered loading it, but he assured me that it was not loaded.
If you did not think the gun was loaded, why chance grabbing a gun that may not be loaded instead of just running outside?
I grabbed the gun not because I intended to shoot him. I grabbed the gun because my thought is that if a gun is pointed, you stop. Whether it's loaded or not, I've always been taught you don't point guns at people, period, just as a safety precaution. So I can only imagine what I would do in that situation. If a gun were pointed at me, I would stop. And I was hoping that it would have that effect on him.
I'm asking you whether or not in response to one of the jury questions, whether or not you indicated to them, the jury, as part of the question, that as you held your hand out, that you believed the gun was unloaded. That's all I'm asking.
Objection,
I don't remember the specific answer I gave on that. I just remember that I don't recall it being loaded, or I don't remember even thinking about whether it was loaded or not.
Then I guess would you have a quibble if I told you that that's what you said to them?
Objection, argumentative.
If it wasn't loaded, ma'am, and you told us before that Mr. Alexander told you it wasn't loaded, right?
He did.
You told us that, right?
He told me both, yes.
Yeah, you told that to the jury, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Alexander said it's not loaded, right?
He said it's not loaded, and then one day he loaded it, so he said it was loaded.
Ma'am, but you said you didn't include this part about loading. You did say that he told you it was unloaded, right? He did tell you that, right?
Yeah, initially he assured me it was not loaded.
Right. And so you go with these words of Mr. Alexander telling you that he believed it was unloaded, and then you also take your belief that you think it's unloaded based on what he told you, and you take this, run into this closet to get that. What were you going to do with the gun? Throw it at him?
Objection, mischaracterizes testimony and is argumentative.
Sustained.
Well, what were you going to do with the gun if it's unloaded, ma'am?
I testified that I pointed it at him.
I'm not asking you what you testified to.
She's answering the
Then
question.
she's being non-responsive, Judge.
All right.
When you were getting that gun, what were you going to do with it if it's unloaded?
I was thinking of just pointing it at him because if I know personally that if a gun was pointed at me, my first instinct would be to stop. And that's what I wanted him to do.
But if he had already told you that it was unloaded, why would you believe that he was going to stop? If he had previously told you it was unloaded?
It was just a hope because that's my philosophy about if I had to look at the end of a barrel of a gun, I would stop. And I didn't have time to sit and rationalize whether or not he would care, whether it was unloaded or loaded or what. I didn't know. I just wanted him to stop.
And your testimony is that you were just pointing the gun at him when he came at you, right?
Yes.
You would agree that it requires you to put your finger on the trigger and pull it for it to fire, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Well, you were there, right?
Yes.
And so you fired the gun, you shot him in the head, and you killed him, right?
Objection, Your Honor, mischaracterizes the evidence.
Overruled.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.